the center of our sun is a black hole. Do some of my presentation now, but that's okay. You did really good at moving forward in your conclusions, and that's exactly what I concluded to. And this is one of the reasons I got kicked out of physics conference, is that I didn't just tell them the center of all galaxies were black hole. I told them all suns, including our sun, is a black hole, including planets, atoms, everything we look at. The energy level of planets, for instance, all the gaseous planet in our solar system all produce between 70 and 80% more energy than it receives from the sun. There is nothing in current physics that explains why. There's got to be an internal energy producing dynamic that generates that, and I believe that's a black hole. Inside all orbiting bodies, you find the event horizon of a black hole, and depending if you're far enough from that event horizon, then you're far enough from the high gravitational field so that it is like the surface of this planet, a weak gravitation. Do you guys understand? It became clear to me eventually that the sun gods must have been sun gods for a reason. They were called sun gods in all these civilizations, just the same. Well, if the universe is different scales black holes, then in order for these sun gods to travel through space from one side of the galaxy to the other, they would have to enter the wormhole, the singularity at the center of those black holes. So they would use stars as gateways to go from one side of the galaxy to the other. And then you would expect them to be called sun gods. That is why, for instance, the ancient tradition in most of these countries talks about the sun as the doorway to the higher realm where the sun gods come from. They talk about the black hole at the center of our galaxy as the hub, the central sun, from which you can access all of the stars in the galaxy. So you would enter the sun and then through to the galactic center, out one of the arms of the galaxy, out one of the sun in another arm of the galaxy. This is the sun as it looks normally. On the sun appears sunspots. These are sunspots. Actually, there are sunspots seen at the X-ray range level. So they appear very bright. Actually, sunspots in the optical spectrum are very dark. They're like black. Well, they appear when the sun becomes very active at 19.47 latitude north and south. Okay? And when you look at the sunspot carefully, and I picked this one because I believe that sunspots are at the heart of the matter. when you look at it carefully, you can see that the fire is being sucked in. That's what made me think, actually, from my calculation and from my theory and all this, that the sunspots on the sun are not surface events, but they're huge vortices going to the middle of the sun. The other reason, can you see the fire being sucked in here? I got in a lot of trouble for saying that. Because they said, no, it's just surface event. And I said, well, if it's just surface event, how come if you look at the sunspots on the sun, they always occur in opposite polar. See? This one here got an opposite one there. These three there have an opposite three there. You see? All the sunspot occurs in opposition to each other, because when you have a vortex going one way in the Coriolis effect, you have another one going the other way on the other side. And they generate a link at the middle, a link at singularity. Sunspots are huge vortices going towards singularity at the center of the black hole. And that's why, when you look at sunspots very carefully, you see fire being sucked in. The sunspots are actually break through the event horizon of the black hole of the sun, where you can actually see the collapsing black hole pulling the electromagnetic field in. Now, so they started to see now that the sunspot, which some of them are like 14 times the size of the Earth, okay, are huge vortices going towards the middle. And when they talk about material being spit out of the sunspot, you guys know what material that is? Water. Large amount of water comes out of sunspots on the sun, right beside the fire. Then, you know, so then I was thinking about that. I'm like, okay, well, you know, if you were to travel through the universe, and everything in the universe is a singularity, then you could, you know, build a ship that's able to go inside a singularity. That ship would have to have a drive at its center that's a singularity itself. Okay? And you could enter a local singularity, and because you're in singularity, connected to all things, you could come out anywhere you want, anywhere else in the universe. And you could actually follow a linear progression of that travel. Although it would only take seconds for you to go across the galaxy, you would still go through the singularity of the sun, through the singularity of the hub, and then out to another singularity that would be a solar system in some other corners of the galaxy. You could even go from the hub to another galaxy hub and then come out wherever you want there. You guys are following this? Yeah. Okay. Now, if you think of it this way, then it's like, okay, well, we should be able to see these guys coming in and out. So I started to investigate this, and I found something very bizarre. I found that most of the telescope and probes that observe the sun are owned by no one else but the Vatican. The Vatican. And I was thinking, well, that is strange. What does the Vatican want with the sun? And I noticed, so I started to, kind of keep track of what was going on the sun. And I kept on downloading, material from NASA, from the SOHO probe, which is a probe that's orbiting the sun. And one day, this video was put on the net. This was a while ago, almost 5 years ago now. There's been many others since then. This is a good one. Let's take a look at it. They placed this on the sun. Now this is the probe telemetry. This is the camera. And it has a little arm that has a protective lens because otherwise the electronics would get overwhelmed. And this is the sun surface here. This is a representation of the sun surface. And this is the video. So this video was placed on the net saying comets, sun-gazing comet hits the sun. And a bunch of people downloaded this stuff. And emailed NASA and said, what are these objects? Because comets usually have extremely long tails when they approach an object like the sun. Do you know how big these objects are? At least the size of the Earth. Okay? A comet the size of the Earth orbiting the sun or approaching the sun should have a very large tail, very visible tail. So, after a whole bunch of astrophysicists emailed NASA going, what are these objects you're calling comets? They retracted the video. And I was lucky to get a copy because after, a whole bunch of people complained when they retracted the video, they put the video back on. But all of a sudden, the objects had tails. However, let's go back and analyze this video a little bit. You can see the stars in the background all going from left to right. Okay, that's because the probe is orbiting. Right? And then you can see all these little white dots. Those are particles hitting the camera. Let's try to find one. You see this one? That's a particle from the sun hitting the camera. So you can ignore these little bleeps. But if you actually go backwards, you will find that there is only one object going towards the sun at first. And then at this frame, you will find two little objects here that appear that in the next frame move from here to here. Can everybody see this?
Not the light.
Oh, the light. So, from here to there. Right? Now, that's against all the other movements in the background. Okay? And then on the next frame, these two objects become one. Now, that's quite possible if the two objects ended up one behind each other, right? So now it becomes one to an observer here. And then the next frame, these two objects become the second comet, which makes a 90-degree angle turn. See? Boom, become one, and then starts moving in this direction. So it came from here, it became one here, and then started moving in a completely 90-degree angle direction from where it was going. Now, the only comets that I know of that do that type of crazy movements are the ones that have little windows and little guys in the back waving. Okay?
The size of the Earth?
The size of the Earth. And here you can tell that the objects make most likely a full orbit of the sun, and then boom, enters the sun approximately at 19.47 latitude, probably in the sunspot, and then this huge plasma ejection comes out. Let's take a look at it. Boom. The other thing is the objects don't break into pieces like comets would do. And so I was really amazed to find this video. And I thought, my God, you know, if you were a society that had ships the size of the Earth, you wouldn't be able to go into any small black holes like the Earth. It would be, your ship just would be too big for the Earth. So you'd go for the next fractal level of black holes, you'd go for the sun. But if you were using a smaller ship and you wanted to go through the black hole of the Earth, then you would find that black hole by going through the sunspots of the Earth. These sunspots would be the volcanoes you find on Earth. And that's when I start to realize as well that volcanoes might not be what we think they are. Meaning that, you know, for instance, the most active volcanoes on Earth are at 19.47 latitude. They're right where I live, on the island on the big island of Hawaii. And we find most volcanoes have a large amount of UFO activity. The volcanoes at 19.47 latitude in Mexico have so much UFO activity that the government, the Mexican government, has started to train pilots so that they know where the UFO activity is and they can avoid these routes when they're approaching Mexico City for landing. It's actually become mandatory that they follow that class if they are landing more than a certain percentage in Mexico City. Why? Because Mexicans typically sit on their porch at night and look at the UFOs coming in and out of volcanoes. That's how much activity there is. So I was thinking, well, if your ship, though, is the size of the Earth, then you'd have to go for the sun. And as I was thinking this, the music was playing in the background, and this was what played. And I thought that was very indicative. again? Yeah. Okay.
Beam is up.
Let it play. That John Wheeler predicted, I believe, are actually visible. They are vortices on the surface of the sun that we call sunspots. And they're going directly through to singularity. The vortex we found on Jupiter, the big red spot, 19.47 latitude. The big volcanoes we found in our solar system, the largest volcanoes in our solar system, the Olympus volcanoes on Mars, 19.47 latitude.
Pero tras la exhalación se registró algo que no sé qué sea, no sé cómo explicarlo. Vamos a verlo juntos. Miren lo que cae en el cráter. Esta es la exhalación y luego es esto. Ahí está esto que cae en el cráter. Ante esto,
the other side and just take a look at what happens here. It's a volcano. It's about to blow up. Okay, watch. Did you see that? Look at that. Boom. What is that? Right? That's the question. What is
seen over volcanoes far more than people think. In fact, they are actually seen entering and leaving volcanoes themselves frequently, enough to where they have been caught on film. Welcome back to Third Phase of Moon. My name is Blake Cousins, and we're going to go over some of the amazing videos that we received right here. Now let's get to our first UFO video right now. We're here at the National Volcano Park on the Big Island of Hawaii. There have been massive sightings right here at the volcano. Many people have reported them, and that's why we're here. We're seeking out eyewitness testimony. But we're gonna get to some of the most favorite videos that we received right here at Third Phase of Moon. Joe Kiernan from South Carolina, Myrtle Beach, continuously sends amazing UFO footage to us right here at Third Phase of Moon. Now let's get to his latest video right now.
Cindy, there's an orb right over those planes. I was just recording the orb. I don't know. Holy shit. Holy shit. Look at my screen. There's one underneath the look.
The JSB 007 continuously sends us UFO video. He is an amazing UFO hunter, and this amazing video that we're going to look at looks to be some kind of flying disc in the night skies. Now let's take a look at it.
Look at that, look. Oh, isn't that beautiful? Look at the way that's just sitting there now, look. There guys, look. These are where all those yellow orbs were flashing over.
What are volcanoes? There are cracks in the Earth's crust spewing the magma that is boiling in the Earth's core. That being said, what are the visiting aliens traveling to? The true underground? Okay, I think we're all packed up. We're gonna do a little UFO night watch over the Kilauea volcano. Let's get going. It's a little overcast at the moment. I think the clouds may be clearing and we're going to get going to the Kilauea volcano lookout. There's a lot of people waiting there for us, and we hope to capture something quite amazing tonight with our infrared cameras and our night vision. So let's get to it. What are the visiting aliens traveling to? The true underground? What lies beneath their feet may be more vast and mysterious than once thought. Unfortunately, we're a little fogged out right now. We're waiting for the skies to clear up. But the wind, there is no wind. But people are gathering, and we're keeping our fingers crossed that maybe something will reveal itself in the night skies tonight. There's a bit of gathering. Unfortunately, still cloudy, but people are keeping vigilant, and the crowds have amassed. If there would be any time right now, I think would be a good time because it's started to clear up just a bit, but man, this fog is getting in thick. We're wrapping it up right now. There was possibly a sighting tonight, but we're gonna hang on tight, get to bed, and hopefully find some testimony of some actual UFO sightings right here from Kilauea. We just try to secure an interview with the park ranger, but we need to get permits. We're going to try and get that worked out. But there were some interesting elements that we saw right here at the National Volcano Visitor Center. We'll take a look at it right now here. At the Hall of Mau Mau crater eruption from Jagger Museum, there's this photo right here. And if you look very closely, there's an unidentified flying object. Be a Safety Sleuth was submitted by children of what to do to be safe here at the volcano, and if you look very closely, they put some kind of image that looks to me like a flying saucer. Massive sightings right here at the Kilauea volcano. If you're in the volcano area, I suggest to ask the park ranger to see these photos for yourself right here on the Big Island of Hawaii. We want to thank everybody from around the world who submitted their amazing UFO footage right here at Third Phase of Moon. And we want to thank all our 70,000 subscribers from around the world and over 54 million views, making Third Phase of Moon the top UFO channel on YouTube. And if you've captured anything amazing in regards to UFOs, you can contact us via Skype or Facebook. My name's Blake Cousins, and we'll see you again next time.
Come on, where's all the orange orbs? Cindy, there's an orb right over those planes. I was just recording the orb. I don't know. Holy shit. Holy shit. Look at my screen. There's one underneath the look.
Hidden Magnetic Portals Around Earth, presented by Science at NASA. A favorite theme of science fiction is the portal, an extraordinary opening in space or time that connects travelers to distant realms. A good portal is a shortcut, a guide, a door into the unknown, if only they actually existed. It turns out that they do, sort of. And a NASA-funded researcher at the University of Iowa has figured out how to find them. We call them X-points, or electron diffusion regions, explains plasma physicist Jack Scudder of the University of Iowa. They're places where the magnetic field of Earth connects to the magnetic field of the Sun, creating an uninterrupted path leading from our own planet to the Sun's atmosphere 93 million miles away. Observations by NASA's Themis spacecraft and Europe's cluster probes suggest that these magnetic portals open and close dozens of times each day. They're typically located a few tens of thousands of kilometers from Earth, where the geomagnetic field meets the onrushing solar wind. Most portals are small and short-lived. Others are yawning, vast, and sustained. Energetic particles can flow through the openings, heating Earth's upper atmosphere, sparking geomagnetic storms, and igniting bright polar auroras. NASA is planning a mission called MMS, short for Magnetospheric Multiscale Mission, due to launch in 2014 to study the phenomenon. Bristling with energetic particle detectors and magnetic sensors, the 4 spacecraft of MMS will spread out in Earth's magnetosphere and surround the portals to observe how they work. Just one problem: finding them. Magnetic portals are invisible, unstable, and elusive. They open and close without warning, and there are no signposts to guide us in, notes Scudder. Actually, there are signposts, and Scudder has found them. Portals form via the process of magnetic reconnection. Mingling lines of magnetic force from the Sun and Earth crisscross and join to create the openings. X-points are where the crisscross takes place. The sudden joining of magnetic fields can propel jets of charged particles from the X-point, creating an electron diffusion region. To learn how to pinpoint these events, Scudder looked at data from a space probe that orbited Earth more than 10 years ago. In the late 1990s, NASA's polar spacecraft spent years in Earth's magnetosphere, explains Scudder, and it encountered many X-points during its mission. Because Polar carried sensors similar to those of MMS, Scudder decided to see how an X-point looked to Polar. Using Polar data, we have found 5 simple combinations of magnetic field and energetic particle measurements that tell us when we've come across an X-point or an electron diffusion region. A single spacecraft, properly instrumented, can make these measurements. This means that a single member of the MMS constellation, using the diagnostics, can find a portal and alert other members of the constellation. Mission planners long thought that MMS might have to spend a year or so learning to find portals before it could study them. Scudder's work shortcuts the process, allowing MMS to get to work without delay. It's a shortcut worthy of the best portals of fiction. Only this time, the portals are real. And with the new signposts, we know how to find them. For a portal to more NASA science news, visit science.nasa.
How to open a Stargate portal. A Stargate portal is a man-made device which opens a doorway in space and time and enables travelers to connect to distant realms or higher dimensions. NASA has discovered that portals exist naturally around the Earth. Accessing them with a device may therefore be much easier than first thought. Known as X-points, portals are born from the mingling of Earth's magnetic field with incoming solar winds. It is where the Sun and Earth become connected by an uninterrupted path. These portals open and close a dozen times each day. Magnetic reconnection, geomagnetic lines of force from the Sun and Earth, crisscross and join to create the openings. X-points are where the crisscross takes place. In essence, these are wormholes in space. Pyramids have long been associated with being used as stargates for pharaohs after death. With the capacity to generate a torsion field from within its structure, pyramids can focus Earth's vibrational energies towards their apex into a beam. In 2011, Semir Osmanajek had the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun tested for infra and ultrasonic sound. An energy beam was detected that was 13 feet in radius and measured 28 kHz. This is the same frequency Ralph Ring discovered in his acoustical levitation experiments while in the military. Further experiments by Dr. Slobodan Misdrak from 2010 to 2012 showed that the source of the 10 kilowatt ultrasound energy beam from the Pyramid of the Sun is a metallic plate beneath the pyramid, at a depth of 2,440 meters or approximately 1.86 miles. On some level, pyramids seem to operate like giant radio receivers. But instead of collecting radio frequencies, they collect Schumann frequencies from the ionosphere. A radar image of the UV coverage by the telescope in Kunming, China, shows that it forms a kind of eye at its center. This has many symbolic implications, as we shall see. The word pyramid comes from the prefix pyre, meaning fire, and the suffix mid, meaning middle. When combined together, they form the concept fire in the middle. Les Brown describes this middle as the root or first dimension. Dr. Patrick Flanagan believes the 5 angles of the pyramid project a beam of radiation towards the center, into what he refers to as biocosmic energy. Joe Parr describes it as the place where mass particles emanate from. Mathematically, it is the geometric center of the pyramid. Dan Davidson spent 35 years of personally funded research into finding how shapes and different materials convert universal ether into other forces and energies. In his book, Shape Power, a pyramid's shape acts like a lens, focusing the Earth's magnetism. The reason the pyramid shape is the best at focusing energy in this way is because on the atomic level, the abundant element carbon, which is the basis of all known life in the universe, uses a tetrahedron shape in making organic compounds. The fire in the middle concept has been incorporated into the fields of mathematics and physics. Marco Rodin's symbol for enlightenment has this concept buried deep in his vortex-based mathematics where number represents geometry. He calls it the primal point of unity. Rodin's powerful symbol has been compared against other secret symbols, like the Freemasonry symbol for the square and compass, and the Masonic tattoo of a sun in the middle of a triangle, with an eye at the top, surrounded by an Ouroboros. In the 12th century, the shield of the Trinity diagram orientates the triangle upside down, while a related tetragrammaton puts the face of God in the center. Churches all over Europe use this symbol. In the 5th chapel of the Palace of Versailles, France, a tetragrammaton has a triangle with the 4-letter name of God, written in Hebrew in the center, and enclosed by a circle. While the circle represents unbroken perfect symmetry, Joe Parr defines it as the energy bubble, or pyramid orb a pyramid creates when it is energized. Marco Rodin defines the bubble as a torus. In either case, it represents the physical manifestation of energy, in 3 spatial dimensions. One of the more profound representations of the fire in the middle concept is derived from the tetractors. This 10-point pyramid, arranged in 4 rows, was believed by Pythagoreans to be at the root of all nature. The capstone, or top point, was considered to be divine, as it alone touches the heavens. Each row of numbers represents a different spatial dimension, and one of the 4 elements, while pairs of rows could be read as musical ratios. The tetractys embraces within itself in seed-like form the principles of the natural world, the harmony of the cosmos, the ascent to the divine, and the mysteries of the divine realm. The Kabbalah uses a tetragrammaton tetractors to manifest the 72 emanations of God. Read right to left, the number equivalents of the letters are translated as follows: I equals 10, H equals 5, and V equals 6. Once the sum of each letter is added together, the great name, written symbolically as IHVH, becomes fully manifested. According to the Kabbalah, mankind must climb the tetragrammaton through spiritual healing in order to reunite with the Creator. Both the seed of life and Marco Rodin's fingerprint of God can be combined with Pythagoras' 10-point tetractors. This perfect fit between mathematics, music and geometry has already been extended into the discipline of physics. In the eightfold way, baryons of up, down and strange quarks are arranged in a decuplet. In the Standard Model, a 3-dimensional tetrahedron can be constructed for all 16 elementary particles of matter. The Higgs boson, which gives mass to the 16 elementary particles, is inscribed as a circle while the photon is inscribed as a hexagon. The gluon is positioned in the center. Both parity and the 3 generations of matter can now be easily understood in terms of its location inside this tetrahedron. The 6 quarks in the Standard Model are an indication of the higher dimensions of space. Coincidentally, a stargate requires 6 points to define and address all location in 3-dimensional space. 2 points for the x-axis, 2 for the y-axis and 2 points for the z-axis. In the theoretical framework of string theory, 6 extra dimensions are said to be compactified while the 3 spatial dimensions are not. Time is also considered as an extra dimension. While it might sound strange for a bosonic string theory to require 26 space-time dimensions, and superstring theory to require 10 space-time dimensions in order to be consistent, these 2 numbers already occur in the top and bottom of the Kabbalah tetragrammaton tetractors. What is more amazing is how the Kalia manifold, with Ricky Flatness string theorists' use, resembles the 2-headed God. A God of duality, like harmony and chaos, or possibly the outer and inner world which are separated from being united together. In quantum physics, there is wave-particle duality. If this 6-dimensional manifold of duality is put into the tetractors, in place of the 6 points which make up the hexagon, a familiar image emerges: a sphinx sitting in front of a pyramid. What does this mean? It represents mankind's desire to join with God, by overcoming the duality created by the lower human self which feels separated from the higher spiritual self. The seed of life is formed from 7 circles being placed with 6-fold symmetry, forming a pattern of circles and lenses. To a religious person it depicts the 6 days of creation. To a physicist, it represents lines of interference of a triple envelope from a sympathetic resonance. To a mathematician, 3 points of propagation form a vertex for our triangle. Where the circular waves all meet, becomes its geometric center. To a thelemite, all 6 points of propagation form a unicursal hexagon with a 5-petaled flower in the center symbolizing a pentacle. To a practitioner of magic, it represents a planetary hexagram with the sun representing true will in the center. To an enlightened person, all 6 points of propagation form a Merkaba, or vehicle of ascension. The fire in the middle of the Merkaba is the navel chakra, or sacral plexus near the navel area. It is associated with the womb, or center of creation. The concept of the fire in the middle was not exclusive to pyramids. Stone circles also have the power to concentrate vibrational energy into the middle, or center. The most well-known stone circle is Stonehenge near Amesbury. The outer ring of sarsen stones are made up of high silica sandstone, which is composed of quartz. Quartz crystals have a piezoelectric quality. The asymmetry of its atomic groups makes silica an effective transducer for converting mechanical energy into electrical energy. Sound waves are mechanical energy. The sarsen trilithons behave as tuning forks. In fact, the trilithons could be thought of as tuning fork crystals. A tuning fork oscillator will resonate close to its target frequency according to how it was cut. They therefore could keep an ultrasonic beam steady for communication. If a spherical stone was placed in the center of Stonehenge, it could act as an optical lens or radio receiver for the sympathetic resonances created between the trilithons. In 2012, several bluestones have been tested at the site and found to sound like metallic bells, drums and gongs. Both 432 Hz and 360 Hz were measured at the site. Both are harmonics of the Schumann frequency 7.83 Hz. A sacred chant of specific tones will cause all the surrounding stones to resonate. Constructive and destructive interference patterns form around the stones. Cymatic experiments held in the King's Chamber of the Pyramid of Giza in 1997 by John Stuart Reid showed how the Eye of Horus symbol appeared as a vibrational tone within the sarcophagus. When struck, the sarcophagus sounds like a gong due to its 2-to-1 ratio. In 1620 Inigo Jones was instructed by King James I to map Stonehenge. In keeping with his classic tastes, his plan changed the U configuration of the inner trilithons into an elegant hexagon. His mapping fits well with the hexagon-shaped cymatics pattern, which demands symmetrical geometry. If Stonehenge was utilized as a place for harnessing Schumann frequencies from the ionosphere, its circular dimensions are perfectly suited to function like a human eye. A human eye uses a biconvex lens to refract light and focus it into an X-point on the retina. This is where the real image of the object of interest materializes. Notice that the shape of the beam of light emanating from the convex lens forms a pyramid, or triangular shape, until it reaches the focal point. On the back of a Federal Reserve note, the Eye of Providence, or all-seeing eye, is centered on the capstone of a 13-step pyramid. It is also centered on the Black Pyramid of Ecuador found in the 1980s. What is the significance of the eye being inserted into the capstone or pyramidion? The pyramidion is the most important piece of a pyramid. Made of diorite, granite or fine limestone and often covered in gold leaf, it focused the energy of the pyramid, like a lens. When pyramids are built, they are completed up to the final capstone. The pyramidion, which is a single piece of stone, is then lowered into position. It is squared on the bottom, in order to fit snugly into place. Once placed on top of a pyramid, it allowed an open connection into higher dimensions, or spiritual realm. Pyramids, from around the world, have their pyramidions removed in order to prevent anyone from connecting with higher dimensions. For example, the Pyramid of the Sun in Bosnia has no pyramidion. It was removed by the builders even before it was buried under layers of soil to hide it. The ultrasonic beam emanating from the Pyramid of the Sun is therefore not focused. The pyramids of Khufu and Khafre have had their internal components removed. One of these components was a jade with human hands holding a crystal orb. In 1970, one such orb was found in an underwater chamber by Ray Brown in a crystal pyramid, in the Bermuda Triangle. Inside this crystal orb are the images of the pyramidion, a symbol which represents power and completeness. The crystal orb, or oval in the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, is located inside the K2 megalith, which lies 180 meters from the entrance. Its dimensions are 12 by 6 by 8 inches in diameter. Without this oval quartz crystal, the pyramid would not emanate a 28 kHz signal into the ionosphere. Ralph H. Blum translated the markings on the K2 stone. It says, "Gate is closed, we're on standstill. We will have to fight to defend and conquer until we're able to go through the Stargate. The Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun is a fully operational Stargate. Opening it will require great care. The pyramidion and quartz stone need to be in place for the pyramid to focus the correct resonating frequency. The human body must also be put into proper vibration by way of meditation. In this painting, the Egyptian sun god Ra rides his solar bark into the afterlife. Notice 7 rays of light are coming out of the sun. These represent the 7 chakras of the body. Here is a frequency chart for the 7 chakras. Since pyramids are tuned to Schumann frequencies, the human body must also be tuned to them in order to travel through the Stargate. Joe Parr discovered, in his pyramid experiments, that neutrinos passing between the Sun, Earth and the constellation of Orion increases only at certain times of the year. Specifically, December the 13th to 16th and at peak times of the 11-year sunspot cycle, when neutrinos are created by the Sun in far greater amounts. It is at these times when the pyramid will enter into hyperspace. This continuous energy conduit, or stream between the Sun and Orion, moves in a direction towards Orion, and originates from the black hole at the center of our galaxy called the Great Annihilator. The Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun is the best choice for a Stargate experiment. Operated by a non-profit organization, it allows for full access and thorough testing. There are 4 known steps to opening a Stargate portal. 1. The pyramidion of a fully functional pyramid must be reconstructed. 2. All 7 space-time coordinates must be implemented before testing. 3. All 7 chakras must be tuned to Schumann frequencies by way of vibrational ritual. And 4. December the 13th to 16th are the best times to enter the conduit between Orion and the Sun. If all of these criteria are properly met, we may be able to travel through the Stargate and be freed from this prison planet. The question is, are we ready?
power plant, the subterranean chamber, I theorize, actually held equipment that drove the pyramid, the entire pyramid, to resonance, and in assistance with some of the other pyramids, actually drove the entire plateau to a vibratory resonance. And what that equipment looked like, I have no idea. I mean, one can speculate, but certainly somebody who actually develops a system, and I believe John has developed a system, and John, you can override me if you want. I don't want to speak for you.
Yeah, I actually, back in '99, I had read Chris's book, and had come across part of what his theory was regarding the subterranean chamber creating the pulse or the pulsing frequency to drive the upper part of the pyramid, something of Tesla sort of nature. And in April of 2000, I finally built a working model of the basic pump assembly of the descending passage in the subterranean chamber. And the one thing I had noticed was that the subterranean chamber was absorbing the vast majority of a hydraulic hammer or a compression wave. And it was sending.
Can you explain what compression wave is and a hydraulic hammer?
Hydraulic hammer is an effect which occurs when moving water is stopped nearly instantaneously, basically the near instantaneous closing of a valve. And when that occurs, the water which is moving at a certain speed stops instantaneously, and when it does that, it compresses the fluid at the valve area, and it reflects back up from the water source. And what I had found was that the subterranean chamber, when it was absorbing the vast majority of this compression wave, and the compression wave has a tremendous force. I've calculated out to be something in the neighborhood of 21 million pounds of force, vertical force in the subterranean chamber. So it's a sizable force.
So how difficult would it be to accomplish that? Because that subterranean chamber is very odd. It's rough cut. It's got some sort of wall between it. It looks, and so many people have guessed, there's got to be a very specific purpose to this, but it doesn't look like any technology we're used to seeing. So would it be by specific design to do that? How difficult is it to accomplish that, what you're talking about?
It was a very, very difficult design in that it's a three-dimensional, it's very much a three-dimensional design, and not only does it incorporate fluid dynamics, it also incorporates acoustical dynamics.
Oh, how so? Can you both explain? All three? Explain that a little more.
Of course, that leads right into Chris's work when you say acoustical dynamics, so go ahead, Chris.
Well, I'm not going to steal John's thunder because, the acoustics, if you look at any sound traveling through any medium, it is vibration. We know it as sound when it strikes our ears. But really, it's a wave that is traveling through a medium, whether it's through a
water
gas
or
a
air.
solid or a liquid.
Okay.
So the properties of the medium and also the dimensions that the medium is contained within would affect the characteristics of the sound or the vibration.
Why is it important to set up a vibration there, and what could it do?
To set up a vibration in the subterranean chamber could potentially cause the entire pyramid to, if that vibration is pulsed the resonant frequency of the structure, then the structure will absorb that energy. It will maximize the throughput of that energy through the structure. So when you talk about, say, a harmonic resonance, you can actually, it's like a piano strings where you strike one and at an octave higher, another string will vibrate in sympathy. It maximizes the absorption of energy.
Because if you map out a resonant bunch of frequencies, the lows all match up, the highs all match up, and so they're building. That was Tesla's whole principle. If you get them to match up,
exactly, that's
you build up strength.
Basically, what I was leading to was that Tesla actually demonstrated the effect of this phenomenon, and
leading to earthquake in New York.
Built an earthquake, yeah, an
other,
earthquake machine, right.
You think, what can a few sound waves do? Well, quite a lot if you engineer it correctly.
Right, and so it's like, if you take say a huge 1-ton iron ball that's hung from a chain from the ceiling, you go up to it with you calculate how much energy it's going to take to move that ball from point A to point B, say a 3-foot swing. And so you calculate how much energy it takes to overcome inertia and move that mass. You could have a considerable amount of energy involved in the hammer that you're going to use to strike it. However, a child could walk up to that huge ball and just give it a little push, and it won't move very much, but it will move, and then it will move back to her, and then she can push it some more. And so every time the pendulum swings back to that child and energy is applied to it, the ball will swing further. And so with less energy, you can actually affect a greater amount of work by moving the ball further than what you normally could if you were just going to strike it.
There's other indications that resonance was part of the mechanics of this solid-state machine as you've described it, Chris, because the King's chamber is so set for particular resonance. There's so many indications that it was...
Yes. And I understand, too, that you recently had an acoustics engineer, John Reed, on your...
John Reed, fascinating work.
Yes.
He stretched a drum across the sarcophagus, he set up tones, and he found hieroglyphic shapes forming in the sand, a la Hans Jenny's cymatic experiments.
And I haven't, I'm going to buy his book from your bookstore, but I'm fascinated to read his work.
Yeah.
Because I know that in my book, I think from what I read on your website, that he noted that the whole chamber resonated at around 440, and also the granite box. So I call it a granite box. A lot of people call it a sarcophagus,
which is a misnomer.
But that they resonated at 440.
So you have this other chamber above that's geared to accept resonance at a particular frequency and do interesting things with it. We'll get to that in a moment. But you mentioned that it's pulsing at a resonance frequency. And John, how does the pulse happen? Does this valve close on and off so that you get a pulse? Because it's very important to set up a resonance, right?
Right. Yeah, the valve opens and closes after the initial opening of the valve, which would have been down somewhere in front of the Sphinx, down in the Lake Hathor or the Nile. Once that valve is opened, it starts to pump assembly starts to run up by itself. It takes over.
How does that happen?
It has to do with the initial compression wave, and right after the compression wave, there's a rarefaction wave. Which
rarefaction wave? You want to explain that?
Which is basically the opposite of a compression wave. It's a negative pressure wave. It directly follows the compression wave. But when that rarefaction wave leaves the valve area, it actually reopens the valve, and so it's ready to eventually have water pass by it and close it again.
How does it get pulsed at a particular frequency so it's beat, beat, beat? Is it to do with the size, the materials, the opening, the initial setting? How does it?
That's a very interesting question. That it has a lot to do with the everything you've said: the size of the valve, the material of the valve, the amount, the distance that the valve moves, and whichever surface that it strikes has everything to do with all those. But what I've found is that in the subterranean chamber itself, it was designed by way of the room's height being a split level room. Half of the chamber would resonate at 440 hertz, and then the other half would be 880 hertz, which is double the 440.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. So coordinated with the King's Chamber.
Yes, it is.
And I saw a working demonstration today of John's model, and I was very impressed. And I think the pulsed frequency is very important. In fact, Teresa, my lady, commented that when he first turned it on, it sounded like a heartbeat. Hakeem's emphasis to me has been since the beginning of our work that the majority of the tunnels under all the sites, not just on the Giza Plateau, I speak of many sites in my book, which we call the Land of Osiris, all connected by tunnels, were primarily to bring water to the sites for energy.
It's interesting that in Mexico, at Teotihuacan, there was also waterways and lakes, man-made ponds, whatever, around the pyramids of the sun and the moon. One wonders.
We think, again, I speak of what we call the global maritime culture, which existed over 10,000 years ago. As previous guests that you've had, David Hatcher Childress and Gunnar Thompson have said, the oceans were highways, not barriers. So I think a lot of this knowledge was shared around the world, was not just exclusive to one people.
Professor Hardigan?
Yes, Loman.
Professor, might I be excused from today's class?
Why would you want that?
Well, since the course description said absolutely nothing about frostbite, I assume today's lesson won't be on the final.
Mr. Loman, as I watch you speak, I find myself not so much listening to your words as noticing a certain mist escaping your mouth. What is that?
My breath?
Yes. Yes. Why am I seeing it?
Because we had a little nip before class.
Besides that, we are seeing a differential. We would all agree that Mr. Loman is full of hot air, correct?
And as that hot air meets the cold air of this fine afternoon, the moisture in Mr. Loman's hot air condenses, which we all experience, which we can all then see as breath. Hot, cold, light, dark, emotion, intellect. The universe runs on the collision of such forces, as we shall see. Gather round.
What is it? A windmill?
Not hardly. This device, which is called a reverse radiometer, sits motionless, sealed and protected from the wind, and yet when exposed to the light of the sun...
Could we maybe watch the universal collision of forces from inside?
Patience, Mr. Loman. Time is your friend. So long as you have enough of it. The differential between the two sides of the blades translates to...
Kinetic energy.
Yes. The black rudder's absorbing the sun's power, the white rudder's reflecting it back, propelling the blade forward, creating the kinetic from the stagnant. We'll pick this up tomorrow. Class dismissed.
Dr. Hardigan, it seems you're creating a classroom full of windmill tilters.
I can only hope so.
And here I thought that students came to Columbia University for a formal education.
Well, it's really just a lesson in fundamental mechanics, sir.
I'm not here to talk about teaching. I've been evaluating those articles published recently by our faculty. Oddly enough, I came across a distinguished scientific journal which somehow has eluded me until now. Now, beyond the fascinating cover story, there are several articles in here that I found quite interesting. Here. Submitted by one Alexander Hardigan, Columbia University, a proposal for the generation of micro-energy waves for household power.
Well, we all know that radiant energy exists at frequencies higher than what we can recognize. What if we could harness those microwaves? The time of the simplest of chores could be dramatically reduced. We could cook a turkey in, say, 10 minutes.
Amazing. And what would you suggest the cooks and housewives of the world do with all that extra time? And this one, duration as a four-dimensional solid, a theoretical model for time travel.
All these things are possible, sir.
Not in this world. Just do your job, Doctor.
But my job, sir, is not just to make my students see the world they live in. It's to make them look up and say, what if?
Doctor, since you're so fond of speculation, I'll present you a final what if that I hope you'll seriously consider. What if a bright young man with a great future ahead of him throws it all away? Have I made myself understood?
Yes, sir.
Good. Your windmill stopped.
1988年的8月25号，9点钟，我们就在外面就在单位院里啊，正在没啥事唠嗑呢，突然间看到那个西北部出了一个光团，然后呢出现了以后呢，由于这东西由小变大，越来越大，完了呢又是顺时针旋转，反时针旋转，当时我们就懵了，这是什么东西？从来没看着过，一看呢，肯定第一个我印象感觉，不是属于我们气象的东西，可能是天外来物，或者什么飞碟。
这就是黑河气象局辛苦保存了20年的录像带资料。时间太过久远，图像有些模糊，但是我们可以感受到不明飞行物出现的那个时候，人们心里有多么的激动。从录像中我们可以看到，这是一次无比华丽壮美的夜空奇象。一个光点急速升高，随即旋转扩散，光亮异常。而最为蹊跷的是，发光体旋转的过程中有一次明显的变向，从顺时针忽然转到了逆时针方向。这个让人匪夷所思的变向，是在照片中无法看到的，也是我们在电脑模拟的动画上都没有想象到的。
当时连续这几天呢，整个老百姓里每天就是茶余饭后这个议论的一个主题，因为他连续出了一天，第二天又出来，连续出了5天，所以说这个议论了很长很长时间。多数人倾向于是不是俄罗斯销毁核武器，出现一些个东西，能不能影响到咱们生活，能影响到咱们。
当时啊，也就是1988年的时候，正是前苏联即将步入要解体的时候，冷战也马上就要结束了。确实，当时前苏联呢进行过核武器的销毁，但是核武器的销毁绝对不是说，哎呀，这个东西留着也没什么用了，打上去让它炸了吧，不是那个概念。核武器空爆的威力也是非常大的，那么这种空爆实际上就是使用它了。如果当年苏联真这么干的话，他自己的人民会遭殃，全世界的人民也不会答应的。而且如果有这样的行动的话，那么当时美国也好，前西方集团也好，都会通过各种侦测手段把它侦测到的。那么正常的核武器销毁呢，其实指的就是对它的战斗部，也就是核弹头这部分进行消解，先把它拆开，把其中的各个零件呢洗消无害化之后，再深埋封存。对于它里面的这个核反应装置当中的核物质呢，也要对它呢进行封存深埋，这样呢才能说是一个简单的核武器的拆除报废的过程，而并不是像有些人传言的哐让它炸了吧。现在呢，我们可以再来看一看这一段画面。我个人认为啊，第一它非常的诡异，第二呢它实在是太美了。尤其是到了结局这个部分，您看到了吗？原本是这样转的，突然之间你都形容不出来它到底是一种什么样的方式，就拖出了一个与之前旋转方向完全相反的美丽的尾巴。如果说这不是一个 UFO， 这只是一团焰火的话，你会惊叹于人类的奇思妙想。但这件事情神秘就神秘在了，它不是我们已知的一些我们常见到的飞行装置，或者是像烟花这类的东西，它是人们无意之中拍摄到的一个已经悬了20多年的一个 UFO 的片段。它到底会是什么呢？